Hi everyone, just thought I'd talk to you about the Tamron 28-75. I know people that have been following me for a while would know that I used the lens actually before it was released. Tamron Australia contacted me to see if I wanted to do a couple of reviews. Now that was really rushed because I only had the lens over a couple of days, so I had to do things very quickly and then put out separate videos. So what I thought I would do is talk to you about all of those videos put together. So I'm going to use those images and put them all into one neat little video so you can sort of see how the whole thing works in video, in stills and things like that, and we can discuss it from that point of view, because previously they were all little separate videos of shooting still shots, sort of portrait shots, and then also doing some videography on gimbals and things like that. So yesterday I just happened to be walking past my local camera store and they had one in stock. They've been very hard to get here. Apparently the lens had been on order for around 3 months, and the person that ordered it then decided he didn't want it, so I purchased it straight away. I was waiting till it came in the shops. That's the reason why I never pre-ordered it. So I was rapt to get it yesterday when I never expected to get it. So, as you know, a lot of you will have already seen the lens, but this is the actual lens itself. I mean, it actually is a plastic material on the outside, but it feels really nice in your hand. So it's not cheap plastic, and in some ways the plastic can be good because it keeps the weight of this lens actually down. It's only 550 grams, around that, so it's very light, considering that it is a 28-75mm f2.8. So it's a constant f2.8, which is a big difference. I was so happy with this when I actually shot it previously. I was lucky I had... Obviously, the original one that came out didn't have any of the AF issues that were around at that time. Now it's been fixed. There's a 0.2 firmware update. As this is just brand new now, it's already got that firmware in it. So Tamron are now installing those firmware updates in the lenses now. So if you buy one now, then you're more than likely going to get the latest firmware built in. And if you look online, everywhere is actually saying that now the focus issues that were there early on are no longer around and the lens is working perfectly. I found that the lens works incredibly fast in focus, and we can have a look at that now because it really does work very quickly. And if you look how it actually works, you can see how it's tracking Chiara. It's on face detect, and it really is fast. It's actually as fast as my native lenses using the normal Sony lenses in face tracking. It's super quick, no matter if she's moving forward, moving back. It works really well, and that's one of the great features about this, and I wanted to show you that because this was captured using a Shogun, and then you can sort of see how the autofocus is grabbing as she's moving backwards and forwards. The video focus works just as well. It really is beautiful to use, particularly on something like a gimbal. Now, the reason why I love that so much on a gimbal is because it's so light, and you've got that full range of 28-75. Now, you're only moving this much, so if you're moving the balance it on the gimbal, you don't have to sort of rebalance it. I tend to balance it so it's halfway through like this, and then you can move either way without it really affecting the motors too much at all. And something like a Moser Aircross will handle this really well, and that's quite a small gimbal. Any of your cranes will, things like that. So it's a beautiful lens for that. One of the other great features too is the close-up focus of this lens is just outstanding. You can get so close in stills and in video, and we'll have a look at some video now showing how it's almost macro-like in the ability to get very close to subjects. That's fantastic if you're doing things like weddings where you want to grab the bride's bouquet or the wedding dress details or even the jewelry and things like that. You don't really have to put a macro on, and that's one great thing about using this lens. You do have that ability to get very close. So in other words, it's like you're carrying a macro with you almost. For stills, the tracking is just unbelievably fast. It's just as good as using any Sony lenses that I've used. And that's a great thing. It's very sharp in the center. Yes, it might be a little bit softer in the edges, but for the type of shooting that I do, which is portrait type shoots, it's no issue at all. It works so well, and it is super fast at gaining focus. It's super sharp, and it really is a joy to use in that respect. And so I'm really happy to have this in my arsenal to use for that as well. Low light shooting obviously is going to be an advantage having a 2.8. And I really think if you're debating whether to get this or the G Master, I personally would prefer to get this due to the weight. And it is, I believe, if you look at a lot of reviews saying say it's sharper in the middle than the actual G Master. It's just not as sharp in the edges. There's no chromatic aberrations as well, which works, which is really nice. The Bokeh is really nice as well. It's not quite as soft as what you get on the G Master, but I think it's really acceptable and really quite nice. Now, I have seen on reviews online that there is a slight amount of vignetting in the corners, but it's not something that bothers me at all. In fact, I quite like that look in portraits. But certainly, I suppose, if you're shooting architecture and things like that, you may want to consider that. There doesn't appear to be any chromatic aberrations with this lens at all, and that's from the other reviews that I've seen as well. It seems like it's very good in that regard. But even if it did, it's nothing you couldn't fix very easily in Lightroom. In summary, I think this is just an amazing value lens that probably anyone who's shooting with the Sony A series camera should consider getting. Even if you're shooting with the A6500, those series cameras, it would be a really usable lens as well. Although the focal length obviously then is going to be a little bit longer. The 2.8 aperture is just amazing in this price range. The quality, it does seem really nice in your hand, even though it is plasticky material. It still feels like it's a very good quality plastic material. It's very light as well, which is great if you're traveling or also if you want to put it on a gimbal. So that's also another major advantage with this as well. The focus is just as quick as any Sony lens that basically I've used. And in that regard, the face detect and eye detect works absolutely wonderfully. So it is a great lens to have in your arsenal. And I think it might be one that I could probably recommend that anyone could get. That's all for now. If you have any comments, leave them down below. And I'll see you all again soon for the next video. Bye for now.